Hi, and welcome to Getting Biblical, the show where I drink too much and talk about my favorite Bible stories. I am Matt Smith, your host, and thank you for joining us today. So today's episode, we're picking up where we left off last week. If you remember, we had 10 out of the 12 Israelite brothers all agreeing that their brother Joseph was kind of annoying and they wanted to kill him. The oldest brother, Reuben, kind of talks him out of it in a ploy to keep his brothers safe until they all cooled down. So he had them thrown into an empty well nearby. And while he was off at the movies or whatever, the other brothers got an even better idea to sell Joseph into slavery into a caravan that was walking nearby. And then Reuben comes back and finds out that his brother's gone and cries, and that's all this a very emotional meltdown between him and then his father later when he finds out, understandably so. And that's kind of where we left off last week. So we're picking up and to continue the story of Joseph and see what happens to him while he was after sold into slavery. And real quick, as far as what I am drinking for tonight, we'll keep it really simple this week. I'm actually just kind of drinking leftovers, booze leftovers, if you will. We had a little birthday party at the house last night, a little get together, and so I'm just drinking some different hodgepodge things that were laying around. What I'm having right this second is actually, so my sister, when she came over, she brought in with her what she thought was a case of Coronas. And they were on sale, and brings them over only to open them up and find out that they are the Coronitas, the small ones. I think they're called ponies in some areas. They're I don't even know. I guess I should have done the math. Like half or 2/3 the size of a regular beer. And I don't understand necessarily what the purpose of them are. I guess maybe if you were just wanted a little bit of a beer for like a chaser or something, maybe that would come in handy. But I've never only wanted 2/3 of a beer, right? I've never, what's the Zoolander quote? Like, is this a center for ants? Like, that's what I feel like with this beer. Like, is this a beer for ants? It's so small. It makes my hand look giant, though. I feel like Shrek or Hulk or something while I'm drinking it, which doesn't help me get buzzed as much as I should be, but it makes me feel cool while I'm doing it. So that's what we're drinking tonight, just kind of all over the board. No big story or anything there, but let's go in and start doing Bible stuff. So Joseph was taken by the Ishmaelites, like we talked about, all the way down to Egypt, and they flip their deal. They bought Joseph for 20 shekels and then sold him for 30 to Potiphar. Potiphar was an officer of Pharaoh's himself, and most English Bibles say he was the captain of the guard, but I looked it up, and in the original Hebrew, it actually indicates that he was the head executioner for Pharaoh. And if that's true, both pretty cool, right? That's a pretty fancy position. Also, if you're sold into slavery to the head executioner to Pharaoh, you kind of want to make sure that you are on your best behavior, right? That you're doing your job well. You don't want to slack off when that's your boss's job or whatever. So that's who Potiphar was. And at this time, God was still watching over Joseph and was still blessing him and wanted him to go on, and had there was still a bit of a prophecy that needed to be fulfilled through Joseph. So God was watching over him, and God kind of orchestrated it so that whatever Joseph touched, whatever Joseph put his hand to, he was good at it. He was very talented in everything he tried. Kind of like Donald Glover, right? The actor, musician, everything. I mean, he's blowing up right now. Both Donald Glover, the actor, Childish Gambino, the musician, everything he's doing now with the show Atlanta, just an absolutely amazingly talented guy. Apparently can do no wrong. He's just good at whatever he puts his hands to, and that's kind of where Joseph's at right now. Whatever he's in charge of, he's doing it. He's doing it well, and to the point that Potiphar notices this and ends up putting him in charge of everything under Potiphar's house. Like, it says that Potiphar only had to worry about what he wanted to eat every day. Like Joseph was doing everything. He was like Alfred to Potiphar's Batman. He was dusting the antiques. He was paying the bills, rebalancing Potiphar's 401k, just taking care of everything. It's pretty cool. Potiphar was living on an easy street. Everything was going great. And I guess, I don't know, maybe Joseph was doing okay. I mean, with that type of status and taking care of everything, he probably was doing all right himself. So things are going good. Potiphar's just kind of coasting and letting Joseph do all the heavy lifting around the house. So as you can imagine with all this, so Joseph is still young. He was 17 when the story started, when he got sold into slavery. So at this time, he's probably only like early 20s or something. I don't even know. I don't know how long it took him to become head of Potiphar's house to get that promotion. But if we assume that it's early 20s or so, and imagine he's young and he works hard and everything. He's handsome, doing all this stuff. He's physically fit. So Potiphar's wife takes notice. And she sees this stud working around the house, and she's liking what she's seeing, if you get my drift. And it's Egypt, right? It's hot outside. Joseph's a hard worker, so I'm sure he's shirtless half the time. And I imagine one day he's out cleaning the pool or something, and she just sees him and she can't take it anymore. She's been fantasizing about him for months, and she gives in to her desires, and so she throws herself at Joseph. She goes out by the pool and she's like, "Take me, have me, have your way with me." And Joseph's like, "No, ma'am, nope. I have a good thing going here. Mr. Potiphar put me in charge of everything in the house, everything except for you, ma'am. I'm not gonna sleep with you." So she drops it. She drops it that day, but wherein she should have realized that no means no, she instead thought he was playing hard to get, and so Real Housewives of Egypt going on. I don't know. I never even watched that show, but that was the only thing I could think of. So Potiphar's wife can't stop thinking about Joseph. So every day she sexually harasses him. She keeps come on, Joseph, just have your way with me, do everything. And he's like, nope, every day. And he just keeps dodging her sexual advances day in and day out. And very stressful, I'm sure. And now sometimes I wonder if maybe she was just ugly, and that was part of why he was able to have a hard stance on nope, I'm not banging you, not happening. But then I started thinking about it more, and Potiphar's actually a powerful guy, right? I mean, if he's the head executioner and all this, right? So he probably has a hot wife. Unless they were high school sweethearts or something that she let herself go hard. I don't know. Who knows? Rude things to say, but I think Joseph was actually really trying to be good, and that she was smoking hot, and he was on his best behavior. But anyway, so one day, as they keep day in day out, she keeps sexually harassing him. One day, she finds him all alone in the house, he's down in the basement doing the laundry or something, and nobody else is around. And so she realizes that he's alone, and now she's going to put more effort into her sexual advances. So she comes down and she grabs his robe or his toga or whatever it is, I don't know. And she's like, "Bang me, Joseph. Bang me like one of your French girls right now." And Joseph's like, "No, ho, no, get out of here." And he runs away. But she's still grabbing onto his robe or his toga or whatever, and it flies off like she's holding so tight while he's running, it just rips off of him. And I guess he still had boxer shorts on or something. I don't know. No one sees him run around naked, but he dips, and she's there holding his robe, holding his clothes, and she instinctively at that moment, she's mad, one, that he just still wouldn't give in to her desires, and now so she's mad, and then so she screams at the top of her lungs, and all the other workers in the house and everything, they come down and what happened when they hear her scream. And she goes, "Oh, Joseph, this Hebrew that they brought into the house, he tried to rape me, and he was taking off his clothes so he could have his way with me. And I yelled, and he got scared, and he ran away. And here's the proof. Here's the evidence that he tried to rape me." And she held up the robe that she had had in her hands, and everyone believed her. And then Potiphar got home from work that night, and she retold him the same story. She's like, "This guy, he tried to rape me, and here's the robe and everything." I don't know where he was hiding at this point, but so Potiphar, he hears the story, and I kind of think that Potiphar knew his wife was being a thought, he knew that she was doing something wrong, but he can't call her out because of this whole story. So he has to do something, even if he doesn't really believe it. But so he puts Joseph in prison. He has to lock him away because of the allegation. So our boy Joseph finds himself in prison, he's innocent, but what can you do? And but he's still got like that blessing from God. He's still like Donald Glovering it up, and he's just being awesome at everything that he does. He's trying to take shitty circumstances and make the best of it. So while he's in prison, he somehow proves his worth enough that the warden of the prison thinks he's a pretty cool guy. And even though Joseph is a prisoner, the warden puts Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners. Like, he puts him in charge of the jail, like assistant warden or something. And, even though Joseph is a prisoner himself, I don't know if he had like an extra, like a special outfit or something, or how it identified or whatever, but Joseph was now in charge, and the warden got to live on easy street himself. Like, Joseph takes care of, ordering the food and doing this and whatever, and scheduling the executions or something. I don't know what all his duties were, but it says that he was put in charge. And after, so that's how and I kind of think, so here's how I see it. It's why I also think that Potiphar knew that something was up and that Joseph was kind of innocent, because being the head executioner, if he really did think that Joseph tried to rape his wife, I think it would have been pretty easy for him to just like schedule him in for the next day's executions or whatever and just like kill him himself. Like, he would have been totally justified just to be done with him. But the fact that he put him into prison, I think, indicates that he knew he was kind of innocent. And two, being that if Potiphar was the head executioner, he probably knew the warden of the prison and probably was like, hey, by the way, I'm putting this guy in jail under your watch, but keep an eye on him. He's actually pretty cool. Just, letting you know. And so I wonder if there might have been like some little bit of communication there to help get Joseph promoted. But that's just my theory. Just, that's not actually technically in there, but just, a Bible theory. So he's there for a little while, and after some time, one day, Pharaoh's head baker and Pharaoh's cupbearer. So everyone knows what a baker is, right? I mean, we've all seen Cupcake Wars and everything. But a cupbearer, that's something that's kind of gone out of style in modern society. See, a cupbearer was this dude, a very important dude, who was pretty much the number one line of defense to make sure the king doesn't get poisoned. Like, he probably had other job duties as well, kind of like also like the butler kind of, but like Alfred to the king or the pharaoh or whatever. But his one main thing, the title of his job was cupbearer, but his like one main thing was that he had to be on standby whenever the king was drinking to drink himself, the cupbearer, out of the king's or the pharaoh's, in this case, to drink out of the pharaoh's own cup to make sure that it wasn't poisoned. Which, if you think about it, is a really difficult job. Like, if the kings and pharaohs are getting poisoned, if their wine is getting poisoned so frequently that they have to create a whole HR job description to cover this task. Like, we need someone to taste his wine before he drinks it so that he doesn't get so that you get poisoned instead of him. Like how many people are dying this way? Like, how? Is there no quality control on the wine? Like, what's happening here? But anyway, so that's I can just imagine this very dramatic scene where, like, every single day the king like has a glass of wine with dinner or whatever, and the wine gets poured into the goblet. And I'm sure it's other things other than wine, it's water or whatever, Sprite, whatever he's drinking. But wine is just what I like to think about often. I mean, clearly this is welcome to the show where I drink too much and talk about Bible stories, so I'm always gonna have that lens of drinking involved. But anyway. So I just imagine, like, the servant brings it up to the king, and the cupbearer steps in and is like, whoa, like, excuse me, and takes the goblet and drinks it for himself. And like, as he's like swallowing the wine, like every set of eyes in the room are on the cupbearer, and dramatic music starts playing, and they're all watching, and like 1 second goes by, 2 seconds go by, 3 seconds go by, 5 seconds. And like a kind of a room-wide like sigh of relief like goes out, and like, he didn't die. The wine's fine. And then he hands the cup back to the pharaoh, and they could go about their business. But very stressful for that moment. But once the job's done and you don't die from poison, then you can just go back to playing Clash of Clans or whatever on your phone, and I guess just wait for the next cup of wine to be brought out or something. I don't know. But it's very, very interesting job that doesn't exist too much nowadays, at least here in America. Anyway. So the Pharaoh's master baker and the Pharaoh's cupbearer are both in the same window of time. They, for some reason, royally piss off Pharaoh, and they get put into the prison here with Joseph. And Joseph was in charge, so he sees him in there, and he gets to know him, I guess. And one night, both the baker and the cupbearer have bad dreams, and the next morning, Joseph sees that they're a little bit sad. They're a little not quite their usual selves, which they must have been super sad in this case, because they're in prison, right? Like the Pharaoh himself put them into prison, which should mean that you were kind of in a depressed state, period, I would think. Like, that's not a cheery trip to Disney World or anything. So they were like super extra sad on top of their regular sad for being in prison, to the point that Joseph noticed something was different. So Joseph's like, what's wrong with you guys today? Like, what's happened? And they both tell him that they had weird dreams the night before, and they're kind of freaking out about it, and they don't know what they mean. And Joseph's like, oh, well, I'm something of a dreamer myself, right? Like, let me tell you this story about the sun and moon and 11 stars one day. But he's like, tell me your dreams, and I'll interpret them. And so the cupbearer goes first, and he says in his dream he sees a vine, right? And on that vine there were 3 branches, and the branches all blossomed and produced amazing grapes. And the cupbearer took those grapes and squeezed them into wine and put it in the Pharaoh's cup, and he gave the cup to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh drank it and everything. And he's like, that was my dream. Which I don't understand. Like, that doesn't even sound like a bad dream. Like, I don't understand why the cupbearer was so like distraught over it. Like, that seems like a fun, like, it's like, you ever have a dream like you wake up or whatever, or in the dream, like, you kind of go about your normal day, like you go to the office, you start writing up emails, and you do stuff or whatever, and then you wake up from the dream, and then you get mad because you just like worked your whole day at work in your dream, then you wake up with the alarm going off, you have to do it all over again. That sucks. I don't know if that ever happens to you, but that's what this dream essentially was. Like, in his dream he was just doing his job, nothing bad even happened. But so I don't know why he was all like bent out of shape over like, oh my god, this dream. Anyway, but Joseph hears the dream. He's like, oh, good news, that's a great dream, good dream. The 3 branches on the vine represent 3 days. So in 3 days, Pharaoh will bring you out of prison, and he's going to give you your old job back. And things are going to go right back to the way they were. Congratulations. Good dream. Good outcome. Just hang tight for the next 3 days. You'll be fine. And he's like, the one thing I ask, Mr. Cupbearer, if you'll please remember me when you get back in your old job, because I am in jail here. I'm in prison, and I'm innocent. And I'm innocent, I tell you. And I would very much like to get out of prison, so if you could just put in a good word to the Pharaoh for me, I'd really appreciate it when you get your old job back. And the cupbearer's like, yeah, for sure, dog, I got you. I'll put in a good word. Thanks. I can't wait to get out of jail in 3 days. And then the baker hears the good news that the cupbearer got, and so he starts getting excited. He's like, now do me, Joseph, do me. Tell me my dream. He's like, and here's the dream. So he had 3 baskets of bread on his head, I guess, piled up. Like, I don't know if that was the traditional way of carrying bread. I don't know. But he had 3 baskets of bread on his head. And in the top basket, and the highest one up, there was extra special goodies in there. There was I guess some muffins and some cupcakes and Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits, all up in the top, right? Like the primo, the really good stuff. Some red velvet things in there, cake or whatever. The good stuff up in the top basket. And then some damn birds came and ate all the bread out of that top basket. They ate all the Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits out of the top of the basket, and the baker couldn't do anything to stop him or anything. And so they eat it all, and now he has no bread. And he goes okay, Joseph, that was my dream, right? So same deal as the other guy, right? It's a good story. The 3 days, I'm gonna get my job back, right, Joseph? Right? And Joseph's like, well, so here's the thing. So you are correct. The 3 baskets do represent 3 days, and in 3 days you are going to get out of prison. So congratulations on that. And the baker's like, yeah, I knew it. I'm getting out of here. He's like, but in 3 days you're not getting your job back. And the baker's like, oh, that sucks or whatever. But he's like, and then Joseph's like, I don't know how to tell you this. In fact, you're not not only not getting your job back, but in 3 days, the reason you're getting pulled out of prison is because Pharaoh's going to behead you and then hang your dead body from a tree, and then birds are going to eat your flesh. Pretty dark. A big contrast from what the cupbearer had. Cupbearers, or the bakers, clearly didn't like the sound of that, but that was what he was told. And true enough, 3 days later, it's the Pharaoh's birthday, no less. And for his birthday, I guess he really needed his cupbearer back because he was about to get trashed on his birthday and needed someone tasting his wine for poison. So he brings the cupbearer back out and gets him his position. Everything's good for him. But also for his birthday, I guess, they needed some action. They needed something to watch, and there were no good movies out or anything. So they pull the baker out, and as the birthday celebration event, they behead the baker and hang up his dead body in a nearby tree. And sure enough, birds came in and started eating at it and pecking at it. And I don't know. Maybe that's why he put the baker in prison to begin with. Maybe he asked the baker to plan like a banging birthday cake because he knew his birthday was coming up, and he's like this got to be the best cake ever. I'm putting you in charge. You got to do it. I want it to really wow everyone. And maybe the baker was an idiot and made a carrot cake or some bullshit. And the Pharaoh was like, "What? Nope. Right to prison with you." I don't know what he did, but it did not end well for him. So that all happened. And the cupbearer, of course, got his job back, like I said. And Joseph starts getting excited. Joseph's like, yeah, boy, now I just got to sit back and wait for him to tell the Pharaoh about me, and I am out of here. Unfortunately, the cupbearer forgot all about Joseph as soon as he got his job back. He just totally, well, that was the thing I did going to prison. Glad I'm back to my old job. And he just went right back to playing Clash of Clans. He forgot about Joseph entirely. Fast forward 2 years. 2 years later, after all this happens, cupbearer forgot about Joseph. Joseph's still in prison. I mean, he's still doing okay as far as prison goes. He's still in charge of everything. But anyway, so at this 2 years later, Pharaoh himself now has a dream. And in the dream, there was this river, like the Nile, I guess, whatever. And from that river walks out 7 cows. And they were healthy, fat, whatever, strong cows. Not fat in a bad way, but cows are supposed to be, right? They're just healthy, and they start eating the grass nearby. Okay, whatever. And then as the fat cows are eating the grass, 7 more cows walk out of the river, but these were nasty, ugly, skinny, crack whore cows, right? They're just all bony and ugly and nasty ass cows. And so the 7 crack whore cows walk out of the river, and they see the healthy cows that are eating the grass, and the crack whore cows eat the nice healthy fat cows. They just I don't know if they swallowed them whole, they ripped them apart or whatever, but they end up eating the fat cows, the healthy cows. But even when they're done, the crack whore cows are still just as skinny and ugly as they were before. Makes no sense, but it's a dream, so it's fine. So that's that. And the Pharaoh wakes up in a cold sweat, and he's like, what the fuck? And he's but he goes back to sleep, and he has another dream after this. So in the second dream, there was a stalk of grain, and on the grain were 7 healthy heads of grain, whatever. And then next to the 7 healthy clusters, heads of grain, there were 7 shitty thin heads of grain that popped out as well on the same stalk. And they don't have mouths or whatever, but it says the 7 thin ones ate the 7 healthy ones. They swallowed them up or whatever. And if you had a pot plant, I guess, and had 7 thick, dank kush buds that sprouted, right? Some primo stuff, and then also on the same plant grew 7 shitty reg buds, just bottom tier, I don't know, high school, like oregano, basically just oregano. Yeah, like the 7 really good dank things, and then 7 bundles of oregano on the same tree, and the oregano buds eat up the 7 nice ones, the 7 dank ones, and that's when the Pharaoh woke up again in a cold sweat, what are these dreams? and he can't sleep anymore or whatever. And the next morning, he calls up all of his magicians and the wizards and everybody to come tell him what these 2 dreams mean, with the 7 cows and the 7 weed stuff, whatever, the seven grains, and that no one can figure it out. None of his magicians, all the wizards and everything of Egypt, they couldn't figure it out. They didn't know what it meant. And then the cupbearer's eyes get all wide, and he's like, "Oh man, oh shit, I messed up." So he goes to Pharaoh. And he's like, "Yo, actually, I have a dream guy. Like, I know a guy." And he tells Pharaoh about how Joseph got it right all those 2 years ago with the 2 different dreams, and vouches for him. And so Pharaoh's sold on it, and on Joseph's ability to tell dreams. So he summons Joseph in, and he'd been living in the prison for the past 2+ years. So when he comes in, they dress him up nice. They give him a shave and like a sick fade or whatever. They cut his hair and everything. And they bring him into Pharaoh looking nice. And Pharaoh's like, okay, so interpret my dream. And Joseph is like, sure, that's cool. But real quick, it's important for me to tell you that it's God that's doing it, not me, just so we're clear. And Pharaoh's like, yeah, whatever. Just tell me what it is. So Pharaoh tells him the dream, and I won't reiterate it. We just told it. But he tells him the dream, and Joseph's like, okay, so here's the deal. Here's what the dream means. Both the dreams actually are talking about the same thing. It's a 2-for-1 dream or whatever. And God is telling you the future. The 7 cows and the 7 dank buds mean that the next 7 years will be very prosperous, good years. There will be an abundance of food in the land, and everything's going to be awesome, right? Like, next 7 years, awesome. Then after that, there will be 7 years of famine. The famine will be so bad it will erase even the memory of the 7 good years. That's how bad it's going to be. And also, you won't have any weed. Like, you won't have any cows. You won't have any weed. Like, it's going to be a bad 7 years. And Pharaoh's like, oh shit. What does God want me to do about it? What can I do to stop this from happening or whatever? And Joseph says, this is what you got to do. This is my advice. You should find the smartest guy you know, and put him in charge of Egypt and the food supplies and all that. And for the next 7 years, take 1/5 of all the produce that we get and store it up during the good years so that we have enough for when things get bad. And if we do this, then we'll survive the famine and everything will be fine. That's what you should do. And Pharaoh's like, that's a brilliant plan. That's amazing. Also, how about you? I'm promoting you effective immediately. You're now in charge of everything that you just said. Go do it. Welcome to the club. And the Pharaoh took off his what they call a signet ring, which is like this custom ring with your initials on it or whatever. That's custom made, and it's used to mark documents or do wax seals and stuff like that, so that it's for real. And he basically gives this ring with the Pharaoh's initials on it to Joseph as a sign that you now have the power to make decisions and do things in my name or whatever. Pretty huge, right? To go from working in the prison, like a work-study program in the prison, to here, now you have the Pharaoh's own ring to make decisions. Huge deal. It's awesome. So he gives them, and then he also puts on some sick-ass robes on him and pimps him out with some gold chains and all this stuff. And then Pharaoh sets up a big parade through the streets of Egypt. And the Pharaoh's there, and Joseph is riding next to him in the parade. And they're in matching chariots, going down the street. And Pharaoh makes everyone in Egypt bow down to Joseph, right? That he wants everyone everywhere to know that Joseph is the main man and do what he says and help store up food for the famine and all that kind of stuff. And then he ends up giving him a wife, Asenath, 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 I don't know, whatever. So he gives him a wife. Yeah, so literally in one day, Joseph goes from working in the prison to being the second most powerful man in Egypt, wearing jewelry and being married. And it says Joseph was 30 years old when it happened. So I don't know what the timeline was, how long he worked for Potiphar when that all went down, and then how long he was in prison exactly, but more than 2 years. But at 30 years old, he's now second in command of Egypt, has a new wife and everything. And it says over the next 7 years, he did what he had planned to do. And he stored up the food, so much food. And it says that the warehouse is full of grain. The grain looked like the sands of the beach. And he got his new wife pregnant a couple times. They had 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And everything's going good. And then the 7 years of famine start to hit. And that's where some stuff starts going sideways a little bit. And we will talk about that next week. We're gonna stop it right here because the next one's pretty in depth too to talk about what happens next. So that's about it for this one. Thank you for joining us. A little bit shorter of an episode, probably because I didn't talk about booze too much. I kind of fast forwarded through that one. So yeah. So thank you again for listening. Hope that you enjoyed it, and check us back next week. Where I might do a filler episode next week. I don't know if I want to talk about that, but whatever. Join us next week for some other episode where I talk about something. Who knows what it is? So thank you for joining us. As always, thank you guys for listening. Follow, like, share, all that fun stuff if you would. And hope you have a fantastic day. Cheers.